Hi there! Welcome to our next video about the impact of sugar on our health. Today I'm super excited to be here together with Martin Altherr. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and for sharing with our audience your expertise from your perspective about the impact of sugar on our health. And I will start by introducing Martin to you. So Martin is Europe's premier self-confidence and transformation expert. And he's had over 17 years of experience and helped more than 4,000 clients here in his practice in Basel, in Switzerland. And besides that, he's also been an author of many guidebooks. So we're super excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll get straight into the topic. Could you share a little about your personal experience with sugar?
Yeah, sugar is a funny thing, very tasty one. And my experience with sugar is that it lets me grow like a balloon. And I guess a lot of people out there have the same with this. But that is not all. A lot of things happen in your body and in your system by intaking sugar, especially when you have intake of industrial sugar in the sense of the white sugar. Even the processed sugar, which is also the brown sugar, you have a lot of different reactions in the body which are not so wanted actually. And I was wondering when you asked me to be in this interview, to be honest, why me? Because I'm here running the practice for transformation work and for self-confidence, but I see a lot of misleading information out there, especially when it comes to the psyche of people, together with sugar. And so I guess, I like to tell a little bit about sugar and how sugar works in the body for your psyche, for your mental state of being, especially when we came to ADD or ADHD, which is in German we say Zappelphilipp for the children, and they are moving around a lot, and when they have this disorder of being attentive. And a lot of people believe that sugar relieves this sickness, which is totally wrong and proven by a lot of studies worldwide. And they often also believe that they even increase it gets worse, the sickness, if they give them too much sugar. In fact, it doesn't. It does a completely different thing. Sugar does in the body a lot of energy release, and this energy release leads to that the body must move. And of course these children are anyway already active and hyperactive, and by being hyperactive and getting intake of sugar, the hyperactivity can be very much more, which is very true. Although also there exist some studies where they gave to two groups of children placebo, and by having this placebo, both children groups reacted actually the same way, but the parents who thought their children got sugar expected to have a different reaction from the children, and they said, yes, my child was much more energetic, it was more disoriented, it was more in this disorder. But it sounds now a bit as if I would make an advertisement for sugar, which is absolutely not, because if you give those children this sugar, of course they have this big need of movement, and by having this big need of movement, they get interaction with their parents. And this interaction with the parents, that is a completely different thing, because people, as we are human, we get annoyed after a time when it is too much for us, and we start to react to these children in a completely different way. And that is not good for them, because they need actually our patient and solid reaction, and they need our patient and solid lead towards what they should reach, right? So that is actually a bit my experience with sugar and sugar intake.
Wow, that's very interesting, especially about also the placebo effect from the parents, that almost like the expectations had a very big role in there as well.
Yeah. And
but I'm very interested to hear more about this, also from your perspective, more psychological point of view, because you already mentioned that this now seems like, oh, you see, you can eat sugar how much you want because it's fine, it won't influence you, it's a placebo effect. So you mentioned about the energy and also about the hyperactivity. Then can you maybe more explain also what happens, what have you seen from a psychological point of view the role of sugar in people's lives, how they do
Yeah.
affect them.
There I have actually a nice example in an adult life from a client of mine, and this client was very close to or tended to depressions, and she was actually taking a lot of sugar in her nutrition, in wherever you find it. I mean, today it's almost difficult to find something without sugar, and for her it was like this. She thought by having intake of sugar she is more energetic, which is true for a very short moment. And then comes the body reaction. The insulin gets shut out, and then what happens? The curve falls down and it falls below zero, which actually triggers to intake for the next peak. And so they run actually from peak to peak like an addict. And by running from peak to peak, they actually weaken the body. They get tired in mind, they get tired in body, and that results then in a stronger tendency to be depressive.
That's incredible. That's actually very good to know also for our audience, because I've had this question many times, that they've heard that sugar can lead to depression. So thank you so much for also breaking that and explaining more how that actually works.
There I have also another example. It is alcohol. Alcohol is a very joyful thing. I drink from time to time also a glass, but it's like that. Alcohol, on one side, of course, it's a venom. It's a venom for the nerves, and on the other side, it is sugar, because in the body it transforms to sugar. So somebody who has depression, on one side he attacks his nerves, which gives him a stronger tendency to depression, and then the sugar on top of it, which increases the tendency again. So we have everywhere where we take in something, we must be very aware how it transforms in the body and to what.
That's very interesting. And you have already addressed there some very important points for our audience, because most of the time sugar, alcohol, caffeine, these are really kind of coping mechanisms where we are going from peak to peak to peak, what you mentioned, but it is detrimental to our health. So that is very good that you, thank you so much for explaining that to our audience.
I was talking often now about addict and addiction. And what I found out when I work with clients, especially when they want to lose weight, I talk with them about this addiction, because most of people don't know that they are addicted to sugar. And it is really like that. In the moment you start to really set off sugar in your life, what happens? First of all, you feel kind of comfortable because you do a new action for yourself, for your body. You feel actually very motivated. And then comes the curve, and it decreases and decreases the longing and the wanting of having a sugar intake. And it results even in kind of new habits you start to do. I observe that very much on myself, because if you look at me, I should also detox again sometimes with sugar, because it's a natural thing. We cope with this, I guess, in our society all the time. And but I come later to myself. When a client wants to lose weight and comes to the idea that it's also an addiction of sugar, that is a completely new aspect, because they start to realize, oh wow, it is not just I'm not able to, or I'm too lazy. It is really an force of my body wanting to have sugar and a sugar intake, and that changes a lot in the mentality of changing the nutrition for your life. Because honest, we all know, if we want to stay stable in a healthy body, if we want to stay stable also in a slim body, the only thing we can do, we have really to change our intake habits forever. And nobody wants to change it forever, as you can see on me, and now I come to myself. I have also my times I'm letting this addiction run, and then I have times I get more strict and I get it back what I need to have my healthy body. And then sometimes there comes from time to time, it depends a little bit on what I'm doing, comes this moment where I want just more sugar. And I start to like then this tiny beautiful breads with kind of a bit marmalade in it and a little bit sugar on it. And I start really to search for such stores, and then I realize, whoa, my body is calling for sugar now. Now I must decide, do I want to let it happen or not? And I guess that is the point where self-responsibility comes in. And self-responsibility is, of course, my topic in self-confidence, because without self responsibility, you're going to reach nothing, nowhere. So if you decide to take sugar, fine, but you need to know what is sugar doing with you. And that is, I guess, why you are also doing this, that you interview us to give our impression or our experience with sugar and how we work with our clients about sugar or about other stuff and how it is related to, right? So the self-responsibility to go with sugar is a cool thing if you can really deal with. It is actually like somebody who says, I was once really drinking too much, I got clean, and now I can just drink 1 glass of wine a week and I'm fine with it. Wonderful. If you can't, and if you really can't do this, then maybe you should really kick off sugar out of your life forever. And you have to think about it.
Wow, that's very powerful and really some food for thought also for our audience. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what about you? Because actually that brings me to the next question. What would be 1 or 2 tips, practical tips that our audience could take away immediately?
Okay. When I'm working with clients on reducing body weight, I want that they have the opportunity to actually eat everything they want, being able to have a bit from this, a bit from that, and a bit from this, and they need to have a strategy to deal with. And the strategy is actually to lower down the carbo intake, that means carbohydrates, like potatoes, rice, noodles, that stuff, to reduce it a bit, and increasing the protein and the minerals and vitamins, of course. And this change alone gives already a big impact to the body. So actually that is something I can really suggest to everybody, to reduce a bit the intake of carbo, but increase at the same time the intake of protein. And that intake, which is higher in protein, gives you also the feeling of feeling really, I eat a lot and I eat enough.
That's a great tip. And great, especially if you want to see for yourself whether you want to reduce sugar or whether you go cold turkey immediately, as you just mentioned before. Great, thank you so much. So is there any way our audience can connect with you if they would like to hear more from you?
Yes, of course. You can find me at windofconsciousness.com. And you can find me also, if you're more local here around Basel, you can find me on my cell phone, 0768. That is it.
Tell me that I will put it on I will put it in the comments.
I think that is better one, yes.
Just say it in the camera, okay.
Okay, that is fine. 076 589 2603. So now I have it.
Great. We'll put it here in the comments below the video. Okay, well, Martin, thank you so much for your time and for the great explanation from your point of view. And I'm sure the audience loved it.
Thank you for being here in my practice, and see you next time again. And for you all out there, good luck and all the best.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.